Hi everyone, this is a subject that I am excited about. We are going to do a 5-day mini series. Today is going to be a high-level overview, and then the next 4 days we are going to take one separate subject that is going to be fun. I'll start out by saying decluttering and organizing, it's for the birds. What are we talking about? There is a website, tick.com.au. There is also a book called What Makes People Tick by Des Hunt. Now he has passed on, but he actually wrote this book in the 80s. Basically, it takes everyone and allows you to take like a mini test and identify what characteristics you have, and it associates those characteristics to 4 birds. You have the eagle, the owl, the peacock, and the dove. I'm talking about this now for 35 years. This has been ingrained in me, and it's something that you will not forget. So why is it important? Because you're going to be able to apply what you know about these bird characteristics, meaning how it applies to you and how it helps you in determining best ways for you to organize and to declutter. That's the big aha. But for this first video, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background on why I took it originally. I was working in hotel sales and marketing, and at the time it allowed you to also try to identify someone else and what their bird was, so you could find something to relate to and also adapt your sales conversation to what their needs were. Intriguing, right? I just love human behavior, and we are complex. So everything that I'm going to talk about the birds, I want you to take it a little bit with a grain of salt, because we are complex, and it means that you're not going to fit in just one category perfectly. You are going to have like maybe a primary, a secondary, and then you'll still have some characteristics of the third and the fourth, but you'll be heavier in one or two. And on their website, if you go and look, it talks about how this is so much simpler than the Myers-Briggs test. And so there are many personality tests out there. The Myers-Briggs takes a lot of combinations and is not as easy to remember. And it's used a lot in the corporate world and also in military. I'll give you like 2 other examples and then we'll move on. So one of them also puts people into categories of color. I had a hard time. I'm a visual person, and even with the colors, it didn't attach a characteristic to the color. I couldn't make that association. Another one is on personality categorizations based on association of sea life. So shark, whale, dolphin. That one didn't stick with me either, because I had been living, eating, and breathing the birds ones for so many years. So I'm excited to bring that to you. So let's talk about them high level right now. So the first one we're going to start out with is an eagle. And I want you to visualize an eagle. Bald eagle is the US bird. When you think about them, they are a huge bird with a huge wingspan. They are strong. They are confident. They are decisive, right? They're going to go after something, they go after it. It's the same thing that happens in the real world with humans. You have people who are very decisive, whether that is your leader, hopefully, and or somebody in your house. So high level, the eagle is more dominant, strong, confident, decision maker. Business, get me down to business. That's the kind of characteristics we're talking about. The next one is the owl. The owl, what I think of growing up is a cartoon owl. On Saturday mornings, we had cartoons with the owl that had the glasses. There's also an owl that in an advertisement is the Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop. How many licks does it take to get to the end of the Tootsie Roll Tootsie Pop? Well, that is one that wears glasses as well. So what I think is They're analytical. How many licks does it take? That's a number counting, right? It's detailed. And so that's what your owl personality is. They can be very methodical, very detailed, not quick to make decisions. Then you have the peacock, and think of the peacock spreading his feathers. Beautiful. May not be as well organized, but appearance is important to them. Seeing things pretty, very fun, outgoing, life of the party. And then you have the dove. And the dove is kind of that universal symbol of peace, the olive branch with this dove. And so your dove person is very loyal. They're more worried about people being happy and that relationship. They tend to be calmer, but they truly are, let's all get along. As I described those four, if you can relate to all four of them, fantastic. I can too. What you have seen though, if you have watched any of my videos prior, is that I tend to organize more like an owl. An owl can be micro because they are more in the details, where a macro might be more of your peacock. Let me see what I need to see, the things that I love, my pretties, all these things. So it can adapt and adjust. But again, it doesn't have to be absolute. Here's the formula, all these personalities, you can't deviate from them. That's not true. So that's kind of the gist of it. In the next 4 days, we are going to visit each of the four birds. I'm going to share 3 organization tips that are best for them and 3 decluttering tips that are the best for each one of them. I expect those videos will be pretty efficient and short, but this one I'm going to spend a little bit more time because it is setting the groundwork. Why is it important for us to know these things? One of the reasons why it's important is if you are not the only person in your household, then it's good for you to understand what the other people in your house are in order to be successful, even in communication on a regular basis, as well as maybe adapting for them if you are helping them with organization and declutter. My husband and I are not the same bird. I tend to be more of an owl and he tends to be more of a dove, although I have dove tendencies. And the way we organize is very different. So I will share more about that in the upcoming days. Another reason why it's important is for you to understand yourself. If you say, I'm going to do this really quick, and you are an owl, you're not going to do it quick. If you are an eagle, you might, because you are a quick decision maker. Are we always the same bird throughout our lives? You can change based on your role that you are in. Through my adult life, at the core of me, I've probably been the same. But here's the trick. There are 2 styles. You have a natural style, which is in your normal day-to-day life, and then you have an adapted style, which is in your work life or in a role. If you are head of the Girl Scouts, as an example, you are a leader, then you have likely a changed, adapted role. When you take the test, you want to think about it from your role that's most important to you. So if you would use this in your home life, then I would say take the test, and as you answer each question saying my home life, my role in my home, that's how I want to answer. Because if you took it again and thought of it in your other role, like a work life role, your answers are likely to be different. How is that possible? It is. Let me explain. In my sales days back when I worked for hotels, I scored more as a dove and a peacock because it was, the hotel business is fun. So it was about having fun, lively industry. And so I scored very different then. When I worked in mortgage servicing and I took the test again, at one point I had 160 employees that reported up through me. And I was a strong eagle. I had to be a decision maker. There was so much going on. So I was strong eagle, secondary owl. But I also needed to be human, right? And be concerned about employees. So that's where your dove comes in. And then you had to make the workplace fun. So that's where your peacock comes in. So you see how it can apply to all of them. But I was stronger in the eagle. And that's kind of how I'm trying to explain the differences. The role that I am in now in my full-time job is very analytical. So I am a very, very strong owl when I score, considering my current job. Now, I am also a dove. Here's kind of a fun little tip. If you find that if you go to write an email and you get straight down to business, you could be an eagle, because a dove would start that email, "Hi, I hope you're doing well. I am so glad that I got to speak with you," or starting up the little chit chat, right? For an eagle, they may get down to business, and after writing the email, for me, I might have to go back up and say, "Let me add my niceties," because I went straight to business. So in addition to that, let's talk about, how do you get along with other birds? Do all the birds get along? Yes and no. That's where adapting. Everybody can't always revolve around us. So here's the thing. If you think about an eagle and they only want high-level information so they can make decisions, then an owl who is very detail-oriented and wants to take care of all of the risk communication, and the eagle saying, "Get to the point," the owl has to adapt to the eagle and their needs. In the business world, they might call that the elevator pitch. What's my elevator pitch? If you had 1 minute to tell me something, how do you get that out? That might be harder for an owl to do. So because of that, the owl might be irritated by the eagle and vice versa. Actually, the eagle might be irritated by everybody because if they don't want to know the niceties, "Oh, how are you doing? What'd you do this weekend?" Right? They're like, "I don't have time for that. Give me down to business." And I'm being a little bit extreme here. And the peacock is going to come in and say, "Ooh, I like that suit. I like those shoes." They're like, "Okay, well, yeah, thank you. Did you need to talk to me about something?" See how the different personalities might interact? Same thing, if you are sitting down at the dinner table with a lot of family members, none of your family are the same personalities. Some might want to talk more in detail. Some might want to talk about friends and what they're going through. And the peacock is saying, "Well, let's just talk about fun stuff. What are we going to do this weekend?" You know, think about your conversations and how they go. I do highly recommend the book. If personalities is something that intrigues you and human behavior intrigues you, I do highly recommend it. I hope that this introduction has piqued your interest and that you'll join me over the next 4 days as we dig a little bit more into each of the personalities. Thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you soon. As my dad always closed his voicemail messages, bye for now. If you can relate, worried about the experience and people, excuse me,